Here we are.
A lot of doomer guessing with the announcement today.
Yeah, not a lot of good, optimistic guesses.
So-and-so's quitting the pod. So-and-so else is quitting the pod. Never doing the pod again. Blah, 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 blah.
CJ on life support.
Yep. CJ's going to be murdered. CJ's going to be fired. I saw one CJ's going to shave his head, which would be a weird announcement, but...
I wouldn't announce that. I would just come on with a shaved head.
Yeah.
I almost did that when I got my haircut recently. Pulled out last second.
Yeah.
The people love the locks. They need it.
Yeah. I don't know why. There's something... If you're listening right now and you've never shaven your head...
Do it.
Give it a shot.
It's so good. It's so nice. Good. It's such an amazing relief afterwards. Oh my God.
And especially if you haven't done it yet, like as an adult.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
I cannot agree more, CJ. I think it was like 3 months ago I used to just, have clippers at home. I would do it myself. And I was sick of my hair. And I told my wife, I'm shaving it all off. And she looked at me. She's never done this before, even though I know she doesn't like when I shave my head. She's like, please don't do that. And I was like, fuck. All right. You hardly asked me for anything, so I won't do it. Also have a surprise coming for the new Bodybio promo code.
I think they all, I don't know if they're supposed to or not, but I think all of the codes that we've had, 2 so far, they both work. Because I have made a purchase relatively recently with Fire CJ and assumed that I was going to have to use Mike's tummy.
Yeah.
Fire CJ works still. So,
well, we're supposed to not put it in writing anymore because I guess what happens is that like these promo code websites are always like scraping the internet for promo codes.
Yeah.
So we're only supposed to say it on the pod now. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
Gotta listen.
Secret. Gotta listen.
Maybe I should say this for the Bodybio. I recorded another video for them.
Oh, yeah, save it.
How many are you at now?
Well, I did a couple options.
They're just fucking with you.
I think they are. And it's a solid bit.
How many gigabytes of footage does Bodybio Mike
Does
have?
Bodybio have of Mike acting like an influencer?
And certainly enough.
Here we go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Bodybio, get 20% off any order at bodybio.com with a brand new promo code. And that promo code is Norman.
Wow.
That's right. The promo code is Norman.
Wow.
So throw all the old Bodybio promo codes out. Enter Norman. Bodybio.com, that is. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, the Rights Ricky Sanchez listeners, go and get engaged. And Kinetic Skateboarding, get 9.1% off your first order with code Dave Silver. On the show today, Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum, the laughingstocks of the USA Olympic team. We will discuss Embiid's less than stellar play. The name has been said twice today. And I think a possible third time that we're investigating. And Tyrese Maxey appears on Podcast P with Paul George. Also on the show, a huge announcement we have been plugging. It will happen sometime during the pod. It is a big announcement. I'm going to tell you it is not bad. Or it might be. It might be bad. You never know. It's Mike quitting the pod. The most guest surprise. Says a lot about a lot, actually. So there you go. And then also, happy birthday to our biggest fan in Phoenixville, Meredith, from your husband, David. I've been told you're the biggest fan in Phoenixville, Meredith. David says, hi, guys. My wife and I got on the Ricky train a bit late, but we've been listening religiously for the past 4 years. My wife, Meredith, eagerly awaits the blue icon next to your Spotify profile that indicates a new episode. She's a hardcore fan, as I've been told, which is incredible. Happy birthday, Meredith. The birthday is not till the 31st, but you probably won't hear this till the 31st anyway. So happy birthday, Meredith. And Kinetic Skateboarding, man. So Kinetic, these, I guess, because skateboarding has gotten so big, there's all these interesting like collaborations that happen with musicians and skateboard companies. And Kinetic had this Guns N' Roses and Primitive collabo like 6 months ago, 8 months ago. I ended up getting a t-shirt. One thing I did not expect to see were Britney Spears skate decks and Britney Spears skate t-shirts and hoodies. I ended up getting one of the t-shirts. I had to order in a size too big for me because it sold out so quick, but there's still hoodies left there. There's still the skate decks. You're just going to see stuff at Kinetic that you are not going to see anywhere else, from sneakers to clothing to all that kind of stuff. If you're looking for one-of-a-kind types, well, it's not really one-of-a-kind, but stuff that you're not going to find elsewhere. Go to kineticsskateboarding.com and use promo code DaveSilver for 9.1% off your first order. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is not quitting the pod today. Or is he? Is that the big announcement? Or isn't he? We won't know till later. That is one Mike Levin.
Hello, not quitting the pod. I do, however, have a little bit of a black eye.
Oh,
You can tell. Got it from basketball right here. There we go.
I play like this. I don't play like that. When I play, I'm pretty intense.
Mike playing basketball. Mike playing basketball.
I'm in my prime. Honestly,
Sign me.
Took a shoulder. So that's what you get for playing help defense. Just got a shoulder in the eye.
Team guy.
I'm okay.
Team guy.
Team guy.
Team
That's
guy. Team guy.
That's it.
So before we get started, and we'll do the special announcement, I don't know, 20 minutes from now, 25 minutes from now. Before we get going, the name has been said a couple of times today, and I felt like we should recognize the first one. Howard Beck of The Ringer calls out Mike, sort of. There's a new article about, with some conversation with Daryl Morey, behind the scenes of the Philadelphia 76ers go for broke summer. Here is the quote, is a graph. Fans were anxious too. Michael Levin, one of the hosts of the popular Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I like using popular for no reason at all.
I think it's the official first word of the podcast.
Yep. Yeah, it's almost like they're surprised. We're only mentioning this because it's popular. But
Somehow.
okay.
Yeah.
One of the hosts of the popular Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast frequently criticized the Sixers cap space gambit, including in a February tweet in which he bemoaned, quote, another confounding trade deadline and mocked the Sixers, quote, bountiful cap space that would ultimately be spent on a divorced man cave.
It's always weird when you see something that you written in writing by someone else, and you're like, that's interesting. Just seeing it repeated back to you, it's like in a court of law.
It seems
be
like
allowed.
It seems like Daryl's victory lap is really just mostly about you.
Yeah, which is good.
Because there's no way he didn't feed that to Howard Beck.
No, I did.
You fed it.
Howard asked me.
Okay.
Howard asked me for clarity.
Okay.
And a healthy skepticism.
Yes.
Because based on my entire life of no one good ever signing here by choice, so I felt like that was warranted, and Daryl rightfully admitted that had a less than 50% chance of happening.
Yeah.
And the fact that it happened didn't mean it was the wrong decision to like go for that, but it also meant that it carried a significant amount of risk. And it did work. And like, what a nice thing that a thing worked. Now it's just got to work on the court.
So here's another say the name that you would never expect. This came on the Perpetual Chess podcast hosted by Ben Johnson. The guest was Jan Gustafsson, who is a grandmaster in chess from Germany. He is apparently a big deal chess guy. This is honestly a shocking moment. I'm going to play This will be 30 seconds of it. You'll hear it, but I feel like you need the context of all the insanity
I have
going
no
on.
idea how this possibly could have come up.
Yep. And by the way, well, you'll see, it is pretty much a non sequitur. Like, there's no reason for him to say it. So here we go.
Sveshnikov up there, probably number 2. Number 3, this what's called the Sicilian 4 knights with e6, knight f6, knight c6 is all the rage because you can click your way through knight takes c6 and knight db5. You can transpose to Sveshnikov or go bishop b4. Sorry, I hope we're not losing anybody here. It's Ben who's making me talk about chess.
About moves,
I want to talk.
You want to talk about the NBA.
76ers.
Right.
Rights to Ricky Sanchez. What's going on? So
It sounds like a fucking AI blip or something. Why did he say it?
I think it must have been that he was saying, like, I'm getting into the weeds here. I could also talk about this other thing.
76ers, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't understand any of the chess conversations he was having before that, but I imagine it was in the weeds. It felt in the weeds.
Yeah. So
great.
Well done, Jan.
Thank you.
Jan
We have-
Gustafsson.
We have representatives in the chess world. We're everywhere.
We do, and he's apparently a big deal. And somebody has mentioned this in the chat. I'm gonna have to find the timestamp or whatever. And I give KOC is a serial namesayer, and KOC I believe said it on the mismatch again. So you mentioned
Just a little
Daryl.
roundup of people saying the name of this podcast. Just
Well,
little
the people want it.
little housekeeping.
Yep. There it is. That's the surprise, is that Jan Gustafsson said it on the chess podcast. So that's the big announcement. Jan Gustafsson likes the Sixers. Okay. All right. So before we get to the Embiid Olympics, one thing from the Daryl Morey interview, and thank you again for Daryl for suggesting yourself to 90 minutes of a Rights to Ricky Sanchez episode. And I thought he gave us some good little nuggets. But the nugget that people seem to have taken, and I think fairly so, that was the biggest one, is that he said after the Paul George thing happened, they had a deal like in place, or a deal that it seemed like it could happen, where he said if they had made the trade, it would have meant that their payroll was $315 million next year.
Yeah, I assumed somebody could just figure out exactly who that was.
Well, it has so it has to be somebody who fits under the cap, 20 million or less, because they wouldn't have gotten Caleb Martin. They probably couldn't have signed, So it has to be somebody who made like, and you might have had to do a sign and trade, whatever, but it couldn't have been somebody who was making more than like $20 million. And then it would have to be that person. You would have to be re-signing him next year at a much larger number to put you in the second apron. Mm-hmm. And the only 2 people I could come up with, and one seems like there's no way that was going to happen, are Brandon Ingram and Lauri Markkanen. And because he said it would have cost most of their draft picks, which Markkanen would have, and Ingram wouldn't have. Ingram doesn't make any sense with the current team, really. So it seems like...
I saw Markkanen and Ingram doesn't make sense. I saw Kuminga was floated by Trill Bro Dude on Twitter as a possibility. I was
doesn't
just
feel
assuming
very
somebody else would.
Daryl's not going to go pay Kuminga next year $40 million.
40 is a lot, but I could see him at Kuminga would really fit, I think, kind of nicely in between there as far as someone that can play finisher, interesting on defense, obviously needs to keep getting better the way young people do, but super athletic, would help rebounding issues.
And why would they trade Kuminga for a bunch of picks so they could take the picks?
I guess it would have been within a 3-team situation,
3-team
is
trade.
my understanding.
Yeah.
We've been doing this podcast so long that Daryl said that, and I was like, I'm not going to figure out who it is, but somebody else will. That's not my job anymore. When I was at Liberty Ballers and I was running things, I was like, okay, I gotta get in the weeds. I gotta figure this out. I have graduated past that. So somebody else has to just do the work, and then I will just go, oh, that's interesting, and I react to it. We're done with me figuring stuff out.
I think if it's Markkanen or whatever it is, the one thing to remember going into this season and then getting to the deadline is that it is clear 2 things. One, that Daryl would take another giant swing.
Yeah.
Like he would not fear that. And then 2, it seems like ownership would be willing to foot that bill.
Yeah. In that Howard Beck piece on The Ringer, a lot of Josh Harris quotes in there, where he's trying to sort of rein himself in from saying that this is the best team they've ever had.
Right.
And I think they're willing to pay for that. And I think that's why years of ducking the tax, which was obviously frustrating at the time,
made sense
on some level, because then they could go, okay, now when we really, really are there, when we really, really are going for it, we can have a couple years before we get into the repeater tax, which is more restrictive. And so I think if they are willing to, this is the window. Paul George, still youngish, young enough, healthy, Embiid, healthy-ish, youngish, all that stuff. I think they're willing to go for it and push the chips in and pay the tax, which is obviously what you want from an owner.
Is he a good handshaker? No. Does he have a face like he always farted and he smelled it? Yes. Does he also own the Devils and the Washington Commanders? Of course. But
sure,
I don't think we could have a worse owner of the Sixers, and they are willing to spend money.
Fine. Thinnest lips on the planet. Absolutely.
Yep. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Speaking of dogs, I do think this is the weekend that we have adopt this foster Butterscotch, who I love dearly, and I believe it will be our foster fail and our first foster. And she is sleeping on a Big Barker, just like Rebel is sleeping on a Big Barker. Don't be a fucking fool. Don't be a fucking fool. You love your dog. You need your dog to be healthy. The only way your dog's going to be as healthy and happy and springy and active as it could be is sleeping on a Big Barker. Go to the link in the description of this pod so you can get the Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Bed. You can get the limited edition Rebel t-shirt with Rebel dunking the ball, 2 processed pup patches, the red, white, and blue one, the black and white one, also some stickers. We'll put it in the chat as well. The link. Look, all the extra stuff is great, but I mean it when I say it. It's important that you keep your dog healthy. And we all worry about, you got to get your dogs shots. You got to give them the flea and tick thing. You get them the right food. Sleeping on a proper mattress, which is what the Big Barker is, the first dog bed engineered by experts to keep your dog healthy. That's why it needs to sleep on a Big Barker, because if you slept on a bad bed, you would be less healthy. Same as a dog. Dogs develop arthritis just like we do. And sleeping on a real bed, like a Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds, will help stave off the effects of aging and arthritis and all those sorts of things. I know as I've gotten older how important my mattress is. You need a good mattress for your dog. Costs a little bit more, but it's going to last you a long time. It's going to keep your dog healthy. And all this stuff that I talk about, Penn Vet did a study, showed it's all true. Showed a reduction in pain severity, improvement in joint function, all that stuff. Again, go to the link in the description of this pod or in the chat if it's live. A 10-year warranty, the phone won't flatten or they'll replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, your dog doesn't like it, they'll give you a full refund. They'll even pay for the shipping. It's handmade in the USA. Big Barker Dog Beds. So, Mike, you've said you're not much of a
Wait,
Olympics
before we get to the Olympics thing.
Yeah.
The thing we talked about with Daryl, and I sort of regret bringing it up to him. It's more of a me and you conversation. I do truly think that the Sixers have the most pressure on them to make a playoff run in sports. Certainly in the NBA. And I don't think it's even close in the NBA.
It's not even close in the NBA. It's not even close. Now that the
Zach
Celtics,
Lowe's talking about it, where it's like the Bucks might need to make one, and the Suns might need to make one, and there was another team that you mentioned. I'm forgetting who it was. But like the Bucks won a championship. The Nuggets won a championship. The Suns have at least gotten to a championship.
And by the way, no one really, like the Suns, everybody's going to be like, okay, whatever, call me if they're good. And then if they don't, everybody will clown them. It'll go away. Nobody will remember it.
Yeah. I think that as far as the NBA is concerned, there's no one as close with as long of a road of being pretty successful while not delivering in the playoffs, while still having the expectations this season of a team that should. And it has to be them. They need it the most out of anyone. In sports, you could say maybe the Cowboys you could compare it to.
Yeah.
Another team that hasn't made the conference championship since.
I agree to you. I agree with you. And and
that shouldn't affect Daryl in any way. But
no, and he doesn't see it that way. Like it's a complete. But I don't. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, I'm going to go back and try to like rank those. But I wouldn't. It doesn't on its surface. Mm-hmm. I do not think I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies came out of nowhere 2 years ago and made it a beautiful run, and they've gotten to the World Series and the NLCS in back-to-back years. The Sixers, Embiid has been an MVP candidate since his first healthy year in the league, and they haven't advanced past the second round. You could say the Bills, but like they're obviously taking a step back this season. It's the Sixers. Yeah, it has to be the Sixers. The Clippers, you could say, but they're obviously also taking a step back. Like it is the Sixers.
I would say that the thing that is like the NFL is much, much bigger than the NBA. So I think the Bills and maybe even the Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are like from an NFL perspective are there, but the Sixers they're number one in the NBA for sure. I don't think there's anybody in Major League Baseball, who is even close. And but yes, I'll go through that. So AU, who continually puts pressure on himself, just what's going on with other folks, wrote an article, and I read it. It's very AU. The best thing about AU is when you read AU, you're reading AU. And the article is titled, and by the way, you can subscribe at rightstoRickySanchez.com. It's free. Just subscribe. You get everything emailed to you. Everything that we do. So now we have to do this with Embiid in the summer now too. And it is basically an entire article just fucking bemoaning the fact that he has to hear criticism about Embiid all summer. And he mentioned to some extent, which we talked about last time, and actually talked about with Daryl, the list of things that Embiid said. But it's really just about the criticism of him in the Olympics. And I first of all, like, I watch the games, but man, they're one of those things that I have on and I could accidentally not be paying attention for 8 minutes and not even notice it, that I'm not like watching in depth. I just don't really care unless it's indicative of anything else Embiid wise. I just have a really hard time caring as long as he doesn't seem bothered by it, which he doesn't. He seems like he's having a good time. I'm not really all that surprised that Embiid's not like super ball mover guy with a bunch of players he's never played with before. I don't know. I don't fucking care. Are you? Where are you on it?
I also don't care.
Yeah.
So this is not great conversational content, but yeah, I enjoyed I watched the Japan-France basketball game this morning, and I enjoyed that, the men's game.
Rui Hachimura, I heard, went off a little bit.
That was fun. I mean, it was a fun game. It was fun watching Wembanyama, a couple random guys. It's fun to watch good basketball, and that was a good game. I enjoyed watching the U.S. women beat the shit out of Japan. I just don't. I think it is interesting on a conversational level, on a thought experiment level of like, okay, here's Embiid. He's had to carry this team. He's had to carry the Sixers. I mean, for many, many years, he's had limited teammates. He's had to do everything himself. He's struggled in many circumstances. He's struggled with endurance. Obviously, the FIBA game plays faster. It's interesting to see what does he look like when he plays with, let's say, more ball dominant players. Right. Can he be more of a piece?
So far, no.
But I think there was also God damn it, Jazz Chisholm just went yard.
Again?
Yeah. Lefty on Strom too.
It's 4 home runs in 2 games.
And
fuck. Okay.
And yeah, so I think it's just a matter of like, this is good for, regardless of whether the conversation about him is, people are annoyed about the foul grifting and stuff, and they're annoyed about he doesn't look quite right. He obviously was getting over an illness, which seems like he always is. I think this is a healthy little, to me, low stakes, maybe to other people, high stakes, way for him to get used to playing with Maxey and Paul George at the same time, and seeing if he can sort of dial his usage down, and still be useful in an offensive way. And can you commit yourself more on the defensive end to really, really dominate, to really give the Sixers a chance at a top 5 defense, and allow Maxey and George to carry a little bit more of the offensive load. And like Daryl was saying, get a few more easy buckets, not have to take the harder step throughs, shooting over or around like double contests, that kind of thing. Like that's interesting to me. I think it's good for him. But yeah, I mean, people being pissed off at Embiid, they've always been pissed off at Embiid, and I don't particularly give a fuck.
It's funny. I notice a lot of, and maybe this is just because of who I am friendly with and what my Twitter algorithm ends up giving me. I've noticed a lot of like Lakers fans complaining about it. And I just sort of laugh to myself, like, boy, you guys have really, your expectations of what you care about has really gone down over the last several years. Like, you want another championship? Maybe that's not such a possibility. So it's complaint about Joel Embiid in the Olympics on Twitter. It's like, I don't know. That part of it does not affect me at all. And he's like the current punching bag. But again, if he doesn't care, I don't care. We did get a couple of good voicemails about it. I think you will like the second one a little bit more. But this one, where is it? 833 Lickface is the voicemail number.
Mike, CJ, Spike specifically, you tweeted that you firmly believe that AU's experience watching the Sixers would be 500% more enjoyable for him if he would stop looking at Twitter so much. And I think you might be right about all of us. Because I think I care way too much. Instead of just enjoying my guy in the Olympics, I'm not enjoying my guy in the Olympics. And he's not playing well, but it's instead of just watching him. And I think we tell ourselves that when we finally win a championship, we're gonna have it. We're gonna be able to get him. We're gonna be able to do like retweet Armageddon, but like similar but nobody's gonna care. They're just gonna take it away. I'm doing it to Jason Tatum right now. I'm discrediting the Celtics championship run didn't happen in my head. I'm not admitting anything. I refuse to admit anything. I'll be dead before I admit anything. So maybe we should just stop caring about Twitter because they're all like us. They're not going to acknowledge anything. It'll be like, whoa, we're Paul George. Yeah, well, you got lucky. Oh, your reps. It'll be something else. So maybe we should all care less. That's it. But I'm probably going to care more, though.
The point generally is if you weren't looking at social media, you would never even know that people were making fun of Embiid. They don't talk about it in the broadcast. They hardly talk about it on any of the sports shows. They're not writing about it. It doesn't even exist if you're not looking at social media. So just a little word to the wise. But then
I'm skipping podcasts. I'm just scrolling past stuff.
Who cares?
Get better at scrolling past something that's going to make you angry so you can almost like sometimes I treat my brain a little bit like as if I'm sort of the chief of staff to a president of like just trying to not make them upset.
Okay.
And so I'm like guiding myself. Don't look at that. Don't look at that.
Right. That'll just avoid. Yeah.
Avoid and get past it. If I can't see it and like really like focus in on it, then it's just like we're already thinking about something else. There's something else. Look over there. What's over there? A bagel. Yeah. Maybe.
It's smart.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Now
I recommend that.
This is a very important idea for the Olympics. It's probably a bad idea, but an important one. 833 Lickface.
Spike, hey Mike, this is Rachel. First time, long time, by association of my husband. I had this really good idea watching the Olympics, and I just wanted to ask you guys if you think it's already been done. I didn't know who to go with for this, and my husband suggested you guys. So just curious to get your thoughts. We're watching the Olympics, and am I allowed to swear? Okay. Well, we're watching the Olympics, and we're talking about how they're like the most, beautiful human specimens because they're so fit, and that it's Olympic Village is like fuck fest. And I was saying how it would be a good idea for a great idea for one of the big condom companies to have a commercial with the 5 Olympic rings as condoms. Has that been done? Have I seen that before? And if not, who can I call? If you have a connection, please. I think it's a great idea. I'd love to make some extra cash, and it would be so funny. It's such a good idea. Just let me know if you think it's original. All right, bye. Love you.
I think it's a good idea.
It
So
will
they're
never
advertising
happen.
condoms specifically for Olympic Village because they're hot, by using the rings of the Olympics logo.
Yeah, but the Olympics will never allow their logo to be turned into condoms.
But do they? I guess do you need the Olympics consent to do it? I guess you wouldn't necessarily.
Yes.
Could you get around
You do.
it basically
No,
by going like,
there's a
here's
heavy-
rings of the Olympics, but you don't put them together. Like if I was working for a condom company and I
Yeah.
wanted to sort of like get in on the Olympics,
Yeah.
while without actually saying it, being like, here's a bunch of hot athletes that are playing for their countries right now. Like, can you do it in a way that wouldn't actually say Olympics, and you just have somebody holding the ring, and you know what this looks like is a condom, and that's good to use. So if you're staying at a place,
I personally would be, if I was a big condom company, I would
Yeah.
not play fast and loose with the Olympic copyright
I would play fast and loose.
trademark.
I would play very fast and very loose, because it could open. I mean, you get a cease and desist, and you say, you got it. Our bad. Thought we were okay. They all got lawyers. It's fine. I'm with you, Rachel.
We will get to it's a funny idea. I don't think it's going to happen. So we will get to our big announcement after we talk to you about Bodybio. We love Bodybio, family owned and operated supplement company in South Jersey.
Are they a supplement company, or are they just toying with me to make me make as many front-facing videos as I possibly can? Is that really what the company's about?
You know, Mike had me record like a 10-second clip once too, and never saw it anywhere. I feel like they're just fucking with us. They don't even sell supplements. So anyway, go to bodybio.com and use code Norman, new code. Use code Norman for 20% off any order. I want to tell you about a new product.
Norman
from
is CJ's
Bodybio.
dog. Just to be clear.
Yes,
for the
it
new
is CJ's
listeners.
dog.
CJ is our producer.
Yeah.
He has a good dog. The dog's name is Norman.
Yes. So the new product is Fish Oil Plus.
Ooh.
Fish Oil Plus. So I'm sure you've seen fish oil supplements advertised. You've seen them on the shelves at the drugstore, blah, 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 blah. The problem is that there's not like the number of fish to create, I'm vegan, but the number of fish to create this oil is like there's fewer and fewer resources all the time. So what happens is they do farm raised fish, which is shitty. It's bad for fish oil production. Like the prices have gone up. So all the manufacturers are cutting corners on fish oil. Worse quality fish means worse quality fish oil. So low quality product leads to rancid and oxidized fish oil products. You can tell sometimes the smell of them, obviously they're going to smell like fish, but sometimes when you get a bad one, back from my fish oil days, smells very, very bad. Some of them, like almost dangerous. Bodybio has Fish Oil Plus. It is the complete opposite. Wild herring caviar is the main ingredient that they source, and they gently extract the nutrients for the fish oil. Fish Oil Plus from Bodybio, all of their super high level rigorous testing. They test for heavy metals, like mercury, blah, 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 oxidation, prolonged heat exposure, all that stuff. And then it's the best because it's going to do the most for your body. It has naturally occurring phospholipids that make it more likely that your body is going to absorb the good stuff in there, 25% more likely, and includes SPMs, which is the most anti-inflammatory part of any omega product. So if you're taking a fish oil product, anybody in your family's taking a fish oil product, throw out the old one and try Fish Oil Plus. Go to bodybio.com and use code Norman for 20% off. That is bodybio.com. Use code Norman for 20% off. All right, now it's time for the big announcement. For the big announcement, we bring on one Dan Olinger, and one Ahmed Jama, who you don't know, but is now part of Team Ricky. There they are. You guys talk.
Hey, guys.
So we can hear you. There we go.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
There we go. So we are announcing the first Ricky pod that does not include Mike or I. It is a Ricky family of pods, and it is called the Draft Council. And the Draft Council will be hosted by Ahmed and the Danny. Dan Olinger. Can we see the logo, CJ? Can you put it up there?
Bring it up.
There it is.
Look at that.
So right now you can subscribe. So if you go to, actually don't go to draftcouncil.com yet because it's not quite up there yet. But if you search in Apple Podcasts, if you search in Spotify, or even if you go to draftcouncil.com in like an hour, the links will be up there. But subscribe right now. There is a teaser up there right now. We will have an episode later in the week. So go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, search for Draft Council. And what this is a weekly draft-only pod. Not just Sixers, everything. Draft-only pod, looking at next year's draft, looking at the players who played in, who got drafted this year and how they're doing. Maybe the 2026 draft, you never know. And 2025 is going to be a pretty huge draft, right? With
and remind me how many picks the Sixers have in 2025 draft?
Oh man, we should have had this on hand before we came on the show.
The answer is unfortunately zero.
Zero. Yeah.
Which is when you want to start a draft podcast. I think that's very on brand for us. And I want to just make sure that the Draft Council, it's spelled the same as Ricky Council. Ricky, name of this podcast. Connective tissue is there. Everyone can feel the tissue.
Yeah.
It is connectivity.
So
I like it.
It is going to be a big draft. Obviously, like, I never watch YouTube this early, but Cooper Flagg, like, that kid is fucking good. But he's next year. So first of all, Ahmed, we'll go to Ahmed first because nobody knows him. So you're our universe, you know, like you host. It wasn't,
and generally speaking, yeah.
Well, but now they know you. So and what's your Twitter? Because they can follow you on Twitter too.
So it's at Slip the Screen.
There it is, at Slip the Screen. So you both have some like draft and scouting history. Ahmed, talk to me about like who you are, why we should listen to you about these young players, and how you sort of fell in love with this part of basketball.
Okay, so yeah, my name's Ahmed Jama. I'm a writer for Swish Theory primarily, doing draft coverage, some high school basketball. So originally I'm a Georgia native, grew up a Hawks fan, and been watching basketball for a while since I was a kid. And I think what got me into the draft specifically was, I'm a pragmatist, you know. Growing up, I was watching the Hawks and seeing, you know, that dude LeBron James in the same conference. I'm like, man, I think we're capping out at a second round exit every year. So I started getting into the draft. And even at that point, you know, the Hawks weren't necessarily like duking it out for number one picks. They were kind of just a good, not great team. But with the draft, I'm watching the league as long as I have just grown to like the evolution of the NBA. Like guys that came into the draft or drafted into the league when I first started watching basketball are now retired. I think the first draft class I really like paid attention to was 2010 when I was, I think I was in 5th, 6th grade. And from that class, I think the only only two guys left are Gordon Hayward and Paul George, the now future Sixers legend, Paul George. Mm-hmm. But so just kind of watching how the NBA ebbs and flows through that draft lens is kind of what I just like basketball in general, but that's kind of what's gotten me really like, I'm trying to think of the analogy to use here. That's just got me really excited about the league.
What is your relationship to the Sixers now? You mentioned the Hawks. Obviously, the Sixers and Hawks had a little troublesome history and some trauma there. So
I think there might have been a
troublesome history. Also, my greatest sports moment ever. Hey, that speaks to just the state of Georgia sports, Atlanta sports, man. I've seen a lot of heartbreak, dude. That second round series is the best I have for the Hawks up to this point. But for the Sixers, honestly, like, approaching it from a draft lens initially was just a morbid fascination, I would say. Like who can forget the Hinkie and the process years and being really into the draft? It's like, oh, the Sixers will probably be. I imagine a lot of people have played or at least understand the concept of 2K. I'm like, oh, it's just going to be like in 2K. The Sixers are going to be a decade long era defining dynasty with all these draft picks they have. And I mean,
surprise.
That's we're getting there. We're getting there. The team, team's got a podcast now, and heading in the right direction on that front. But yeah, so for the Sixers, really, it was just outside of that series and kind of the Hinkie process era. Not much as far as my relationship to the Sixers.
It's mainly that I DM'd him one day and said, "Hey, Ahmed, do you want to do a podcast with me?" That's like I think that's the main relation of the Sixers right now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start low and we're gonna build. It's gonna be a build,
exactly,
which is important.
And if you, just as a quick thing for Ahmed and Dan, again, there will, and you can subscribe to Draft Council right now anywhere. By the way, if you go to draftcouncil.com, the links are up there now, but wherever you get your podcast. And by the way, we would love a big chart debut from the guys. So please subscribe, leave a fucking review, even if you haven't even heard the podcast yet. But Draft Council is the name of the pod. If you want to hear them even quicker, they did a pod, sort of a draft prep pod for us in the Ricky feed right before this year's draft. So Dan, I guess my challenge to you is, okay, you were like, I want to do a draft pod. And I was like, whatever you do, it's got to be 52 weeks a year. And you're like, yeah, we can do that. How are you filling up 52 weeks a year with draft content?
Yeah, so I mean, the main thing is you don't want it to be 50, like you said, when we talked about covering guys who are just drafted or the upcoming draft, or maybe even 2 drafts down the line, like how the high school ranks are coming up, like, because it's not good to talk about the exact same draft class all 52 weeks of the year. You kind of want to vary it up and how it's doing, like, you know, leading up more to next year's draft. When that's coming on, we'll like really be exclusively focusing on next year's class. But probably when the NBA season starts, like, I would assume our shows during those weeks are going to be a lot about how each rookie in the NBA is looking. So it's just that there is basketball, like it gets said all the time, but basketball really is a 12-month a year sport now. Maybe not the NBA itself, like, doesn't have stuff going on all the 12 months, but you know, there's been tons of big AAU games. And that's one of the reasons I really want to do this show with Ahmed. Is I truly don't think there's anyone who has a better grasp on like all of high school basketball than him. The things he's written about high school basketball prospects is incredible. His depth of knowledge there. So there's just always like more things you can see. And it gives you such a good perspective on these guys when you follow them for a few years and knowing they're going to come to the league. Like, I remember watching this guy when he was 15, like when Cooper Flag first burst onto the scene with that FIBA performance where he was only 15 years old and no one really expected him to do that much. And he had like, was it like 9 blocks in a game or something? It was some crazy performance where now you see it these years down the line and he's playing against Team USA and dominating in the scrimmage. So just the idea of like, there's always more basketball to be watched. There's always these guys to keep up with. And
that's a good tagline. There's always more basketball to be watched.
That's right.
Yeah. And so by the way, Ahmed, being really awesome at high school is complete fucking sicko material. So I give you
the trenches, man.
Yeah, very much. But how do you get tape? There's tape of all those guys. I guess now. Oh, really?
Yeah. So primarily through Synergy, but also I'll catch a few games live here and there. But yeah,
sick.
It's a challenge. Like, we might challenge our listeners to do this. Try and find a basketball player out there, like of a certain level of recruiting status, and see if Ahmed hasn't heard of them. I really don't think you're going to find one, but if you can, like, all props to you.
Well,
who is it? What is your what is your favorite kind of player?
For me?
Yeah.
That's a really great question. I think like everyone, I'm kind of partial to kind of the do it all, point forward, kind of just jumbo initiator kind of player. But coming from like a high school background, I really do like the kind of small, scrappy, like the kind of player we've all played. I imagine if you guys play pickup basketball, the kind of bulldog at the point of attack, the guy that's like trying way too hard is making you question whether or not you want to play. Like, I love watching those guys at any level, and the few that end up making it to the league, you know, I think are always exciting.
Dan, what's your type?
I would say I will always love tall guys who can pass. Like, there's just always, I think they can do something, and anyone who understands off-ball defense and like doesn't miss rotations, I'm like not going to be annoyed with. So really just players that either do something I think is just objectively cool or just don't annoy me when I'm watching them. Those are probably my absolute favorites.
Except for the annoying part. I think the concentric circle, MCW is at the middle of that, of all of those things. A little bit annoying, a little bit big passer, initiator. Could maybe time to bring him home.
So the episodes will drop largely on Tuesdays, and as I mentioned, there's already a trailer there. You can subscribe, just search Draft Council in any podcast app you use, or go to draftcouncil.com, and the links are up there. First episode, though, will drop Thursday, the first full episode. Why don't you tell us what is going to be in that episode?
Yeah, so we mainly just talked about the guys here at Summer League. Like, I'm sure the people who are sick in the head us are probably looking ahead to the upcoming draft class already with how like lackluster this last one was on the whole. But we really just wanted to talk about how these guys did at Summer League, we talked a lot about Reed Shepherd, mainly because, spoiler, he was Ahmed's #1 prospect on the board, and Summer League only reaffirmed that kind of. So
yeah, he seems pretty good, man.
We let Ahmed victory lap on the show for a while about that, and he also had a great written piece on him at Swish Theory where he just really broke down everything he does so great and why he's such a good prospect. So it was really just talking about guys who did well, guys who underperformed, a few second and third year players who either looked like they should too good for Summer League or concerningly did not look too good for Summer League. And obviously we talked a lot about Jared McCain and Adem Bona still. So like Spike said, this isn't going to be just a Sixers draft podcast. Like, it'd be hard to talk about specific Sixers draft prospects for 52 weeks of the year. But yes, like, we will give you constant updates on like Jared and Adem this year. Like, we are not going to just ignore those two on like weeks when we don't want to. Like, we'll make sure we have those in the bit for the podcast every year or every week.
Wouldn't mind a little Delaware update for our guys down with the Blue Coats. Maybe a little Justin Edwards situation.
Maybe
Daryl came on the podcast last week and mentioned trying to bring on maybe a center on a two-way that it's been a little bit deeper in his career. Keve Aluma, who's on the Sixers Summer League team, his rights overseas seem to be a little bit unclear. Are there who played pretty well in Summer League, obviously? Is there anybody that, like, across the board Summer League? I didn't watch much non-Sixers Summer League that you felt would fill that capable, allow Bona to develop in the G League and somebody can just step in right away, maybe along the lines of a Tony Bradley if they're eligible for a two-way? Anybody that comes to mind?
I was going to say that, unfortunately, the guy I would probably #1 want for this already got picked up on a two-way. It was Orlando Robinson, who the Kings picked up. And I love Big Lando. He is ever at Fresno State. I thought he was great coming out of that draft, and I was just upset that he had two forwards in the starting lineup who were like sub 30% three-point shooters there. Like, I've always thought Orlando Robinson was an NBA center, and he would have been one that if the Sixers had gotten him, I would have immediately texted AU, hey, I'm going to write an article about this guy because I think he's really good. So unfortunately, like, my prime target for that probably got taken already. Ahmed, do you have any others off the top of your head?
No, I was going to go for Orlando Robinson. You see,
he's
this
really
is
good.
Yeah.
Well, they can't get Orlando Robinson.
They can't get him.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations, guys. Ahmed, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to get this started.
The Danny, the legend grows, and we are excited for the first Ricky pod without, of course, we have Carl Landry Record Club, which I host with Mootlu, which is a music pod, but another basketball podcast from the Ricky, draft-centric, called The Draft Council. If you go to draftcouncil.com, the links are there if you would like to subscribe, or you could find it in any podcast app. So, thank you guys.
Appreciate
you
Welcome
popping
to the
on.
family.
Loving how you're using the mics. We had to have like a little mic, what's the word I'm looking for? Tutorial with Ahmed and the Danny, and now they're sounding fucking great. I love it. So,
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Good luck.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I appreciate you guys. There they are. Let's see that. Wait, there it is again. Oh, I love the logo. Thank you to Tanner for the logo. There it is. So there it is. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where, look, if you're going to get engaged, you simply cannot go anywhere else but LL Pavorsky Jewelers. Over 400 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have purchased engagement rings from LL Pavorsky, including Mike Levin, who is not a Rights to Ricky Sanchez listener. In fact, he has never listened to the podcast. But
what is a podcast?
Yeah, but he did get one from LL. The reasons to go to LL, there's a very long list. One, are you going to get a great product, a great ring that the person you propose to is going to be very happy with? Yes, check that off the box. Are you, because you're a Ricky listener, is he going to make sure that you're getting the right price on that ring? Yes. Are you going to get treated with respect without any pressure? And in fact, so much so that he doesn't even want walk-ins. He wants an appointment with you so he can get all of the information first so you can have a productive meeting, and he's not going to be slime ball jewelry salesperson. He's going to be cool. You're getting all that stuff. Yes. LL Pavorsky is the only place you can go for an engagement ring because he is the only person who's going to check off all of those boxes. The very first sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, and we are proud to have him around. The store is at 707 Walnut, but like I said, just make an appointment. By the way, you don't even have to come in. You want to do it all online, you can do that too. 707 Walnut, where it's been for over 35 years. The phone number to make an appointment, 215-627-2252. Email address, lee@llpavorsky.com. Tweet at him at @LLPavorsky. Just don't read any tweets while you're on Twitter. Just ignore everything, scroll past. But you can tweet at him at LL Pavorsky. He supports our charities, Mama T's Community Fridge and Providence Animal Center. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Use promo code Norman in store and LL will give you a little lick on the cheek.
Oh, can't wait to see the picture of that.
Do it.
So Tyrese Maxey was on Podcast P. He was as charming as he always is. We'll play you some clips. There's not even anything to react to.
Things are just good.
He's just being charming. So here's the first one where Tyrese Maxey was complaining about the highlights they used from Paul George when the Sixers signed him.
I was watching the highlights they posted, when he signed. I'm like, listen here, I thought he was on my team. Why they posted so many highlights of him scoring on me? Like, it was 2 highlights of him scoring on me. I'm like, what's going on here?
Posted that?
Yeah, I said,
I didn't even know.
I'm gonna text the people like, hey, what are we doing? We're the same team.
That is hilarious.
We got switched on him one time. He was breaking me down.
Slow motion.
Yeah, he went up, and I thought I was about to block it, and he did some type of thing with the ball. And they posted. I'm like, bro, what are we doing? I'll break that ice. I was not very happy about that.
That is funny,
It's cool.
bro.
It's whatever.
That is
I ain't
funny.
tripping. I'm happy he's here, so it's all good.
Yeah, we're on the same side. I ain't had nothing to do with that.
There you go.
Adorable.
Yep, adorable. And then here is Tyrese Maxey on talking about how good Joel Embiid is.
When Joel's on a court, you so open sometimes, like it feels like wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like P, like he shoot 41% from three. You know what I'm saying? So like when he play with big fella and they have to trap when they have to triple team him, it's gonna be times next year like he's gonna catch the ball and be like, bro, why am I so open? Like it's not right for him. Like, you know what I'm saying? We talking about Paul George, a guy that been a superstar in the league for a long time. It's like the rotation and stuff, he's just so open. Like he's so dominant. Like he has to see another body or he's going to get 70. You know, I think Joel has really grown as a player and as a leader since I've been there. He's going out there, he's showing love to his teammates, he's motivating his teammates. Now, Joel motivates his teammates in different ways.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He tells me I suck when I'm not, when I'm not playing games. Bro, you suck right now. I need you to pick it up. But that's good. Like, I need that. You know what I'm saying? It's great. No, he's going to love it, man. It's going to be crazy.
What would you say is your favorite performance by Embiid?
He's had some special ones since I've been there, man. He had 70 last year in like 34 minutes. It's just like unbelievable. We played Utah. I think this was my third year. And he had 60 points, 18 rebounds, 7 blocks, 9 assists, game winner. He was just so dominant, man. First, second year, he'll say something like, I'm gonna be Dirk today. He'll go out and dominate the game, like just shooting all fadeaways. Or if I'm gonna be Shaq today, he'll go out and dominate the game in the post. So I remember one time I asked him, I said, bro, who you gonna be today? He's like, I'm gonna be Joel Embiid. That's when he had the 59. And I'm like, this man's unbelievable.
That's a crazy range. That's like a singer. Like I can be a soprano and a
like Michael Jackson and Lil Baby.
Barry White show too.
So I think it's amazing how much Maxey loves Embiid. He fucking loves him. Because he's not a liar or anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't think Maxey is a bullshitter. He seems to genuinely be amazed by Embiid.
Tyrese Maxey saved my fucking life, dude. Like unbelievable. He's just the best. We couldn't be luckier. I say it every time.
And the last one, we can skip the jerseys one. CJ, go to the one on PG coming to Philly, and then the riding with Embiid, the last one, if you could, if you wouldn't mind.
Walk me through your emotions when you found out that PG was coming to Philly.
You see the things like throughout the year on social media or whatever, but you can't never believe that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like once the year ended and all that stuff happened, and I got a call from Big Fella, like, man, he went down the free agent list, and he's like, this is what he wanted to do. That's what he wanted to do. And I'm like, listen, man, hey, I'm gonna ride with you till the wheels fall off. And I think it's a great idea. Like I was watching one podcast like that you talked about the other day. It's like the fit is crazy. If you think about it, we got, if not the best player in the world, best big man in the world, Big Fella, Joel. And then, myself, a guard, and then a wing. That's like, you can't ask for nothing better than that, you know what I'm saying? And then in the place where we at and then the city where we at, it seemed like the times of our careers is like all the right timing. I'm happy, man. I'm happy, and I'm ready to see what's going to look like. Of course, you got to go out there and put the work in and, still got to click, do the chemistry and all those different things and fill out, the rest of the roster. But when you look at it, it looks great.
Were you involved in the free agency pitches at all?
Not much, but a little bit. I'm still young. I'm still, a small fish. So it's like I just go with what they asked me to do. You know what I'm saying? What Joel asked, I was happy with it. You know, when they said it to me, when they said the idea, I was like, hey, I think it'd be a good idea. So I'm happy that it worked out.
What advice would you give to P on playing in Philly with that type of fan base?
For me, like, I connect with the Philly fans because of like how I grew up. Like, I never was given anything, you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't ranked high growing up. I had to go out and work for everything I got. So Philly fans, like the people, the residents there, they just feel very like passionate about their teams. It's like they work extremely hard. Like people that you see in the stands, they working people, you know, they work for those tickets. So when they come to the games, they just want to make sure it's like, hey, we giving it our all, you know what I'm saying? So I think P's a guy who he goes out there and he performs on both ends. So they're going to appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? You know, he's going out there, you know, to perform at the highest level and win. All he talked about is winning. You know what I'm saying? Winning and going out there and playing the right way. And because of that, you know, it's going to be easy, man. The sky's going to be the limit. They're going to love him.
There you go. Everything's good, Mike. It's all going to work out.
I think it is. It is really like the fit is a borderline fake, like fan fiction fit.
Yeah.
Like a 2K fit.
Yep.
Like when you turn off trade intelligence and the computer just does whatever you want it to. It's just like they really do all complement each other so well. And I think Oubre and especially Caleb Martin are the kinds of players you would want to put. Eric Gordon, you can add to that, are the kinds of players that you would want around those kinds of guys. It looks really good. It looks really, really good. I would like another on the last roster spot. I would like a guy that is actually capable of helping. I worry that they're going to use it on a center because they're worried about Bona being able to play, 10 minutes a night when Embiid's out. I would prefer to use it on another like switchy forward that can do some stuff. I think they might sign some big stiff that can step in so Bona can develop at his pace, but they're a really good team and they got picks to trade. They'll pick somebody up midseason. Things are good. Things are right now good.
This is just fucking.
I know.
This is the ultimate setup. Yeah.
I know.
This is the ultimate fucking setup. Oh, a point guard and a fucking center and a fucking wing, and they all love each other. And Embiid fucking has been friends with Paul George at the All-Star game. We didn't even know about it for several years. Secret friends.
I do wonder who Daryl was alluding to, the two guys that he says nobody talks about, these two guys, but they're the two guys that we're discussing. And not for the last roster spot, I have no idea who he could be talking about. I also don't know, like, what is he reading that he is not seeing people talk about? I mean, Reggie Jackson was, I guess, a surprise, but it was only because he was on a team, he was on a contract with the Hornets before they bought him out. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. I would like it to be somebody who helps. I would like it to be somebody who is maybe can dunk, maybe a little bit of dunking.
Ooh, don't get greedy.
I might get greedy.
The cap space thing worked. I don't know if we can get dunking too. Since Spotify no longer has the question, you can leave a comment on Spotify. You can do that. We are going to do the Cooler comment of the pod. Cooler is a podcast app we're working with where you can comment on the app, and the only people beta testing it are Ricky listeners, and they are commenting up a fucking storm, which is Greg. This one comes from which is great. I mean, this one comes from Greg. I'll forever be amazed. This was on the Daryl pod. I'll forever be amazed that Hinkie was a Daryl acolyte. Hinkie seemingly would have loved never speaking to the media. Meanwhile, Daryl's out here clowning the hosts of a podcast. I love it.
Yeah, it is fun. That I would like to hear them have a conversation. The two of them.
Well, but I'm sure as a team, that works out perfectly, right? The balance, like there should be somebody with Daryl being like, do you need to do 90 minutes with them? And but I'm sure, every team like that has balance on both sides, and Hinkie being the way he is and Morey being the way he is they're probably a good team that way. Hinkie, who came on our podcast one time, I'm sure he was forced by Mike Preston of the Sixers on the phone on his way to like Latvia or something on his way to the airport. One time, regrettably, before the Sixers ever played a game. Meanwhile, Daryl comes on while he's president of the Rockets, comes on after every trade deadline, after
Yeah.
every season, every off season.
Tradition.
Very, very different. Very, very different. And here is the hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week, also about the Daryl pod. The Embiid mural in the back is wild, especially because it used to be Harden.
Well, no, I think that there was two.
Oh yeah,
I think he had a
same
Harden
artist.
and he has an Embiid. I don't know if the Harden one is still there. That would have been a good question.
Yeah, is the Harden one still there?
But no, I think it was in addition to the Harden mural was the Embiid one.
We'll do a couple of emails and get out of here. This one came to Rights To Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. This comes from Rob. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. If you had to advise Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson, and Podcast P on where to live in Philly, what do you suggest? For example, Podcast P has a wife, parentheses, social influencer, 3 kids, and famously enjoys fishing. How would that differentiate from Jared McKinnon at Dembona? P.S. How do you get Daryl to lobby the NBA to ensure the Sixers play in Detroit on a weekend so Fly the Process features B-Ball Paul? Now, that would obviously be great, Fly the Process to Detroit. I would recommend that...
CJ, you're the only one that lives in Philly. You pop in for this. Get in there.
Go on.
CJ, real estate agent CJ. Get it. Book some homes.
Go on, Spike. You were going.
Well, I mean, I would say if Paul George has a wife and kids and likes nature, he should live in South Jersey somewhere. There are a million, that's where the practice facility is. It's not that far from the arena. It's not that far from where the arena will be in 7 years, obviously in Camden. And he should just live in the suburbs. As far as like where in the city, most of the players end up living like right around like City Hall is where, I won't say the names of the players, but like a lot of players end up living around there. So I wouldn't, like, if you're a young basketball player, you don't want to live in Camden. You don't want to live in like Fishtown or fucking, or Northern Liberties or anything like that. They'd probably just be downtown where all the steakhouses are.
I think Matisse was either in No Libs or Fishtown.
Well, makes sense for Matisse, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking of like Jared McCain, I don't know where he's at, obviously, but Center City's great. I'm near Logan Square. Logan Square's a lovely area. Fairmount. There's plenty of areas.
Rittenhouse for those guys. If they want to be around stuff that they can just like get to all the time, it does suck for them that the practice facilities in Jersey.
Traffic is not probably great going to and fro if you need to go to Camden every day. But
so
there you go.
That's what I would do. 833 Lickface.
Like Mike, CJ, Daryl. It's Noah calling from DC. We're in the middle of the doldrums of the basketball offseason now that free agency has sort of come to a close. Reggie Jackson signings notwithstanding. I was just coming with an interesting baseball-related Sixers take because it's Phillies season. I think the take is that if we're on the best timeline, then Paul George is to the Sixers what Roy Halladay was on the Phillies. He's late career. He's already a proven star. In the back end of his prime, he comes into an already loaded rotation. With lots of homegrown talent, or at least some of the best talent is homegrown anyway. And, again, if it's the best timeline, he's like Roy Halladay. He shows up, plays great, looks like Paul George on the Sixers. And, Halladay couldn't get a chip, but winning a chip is freaking hard. And if Paul George wins the chip, that's amazing. And if we lose to the Celtics, it's not going to make me, regret paying Paul George the money to bring him here if he plays great and shows up in the playoffs. I don't know. What do you think? Non-basketball related. This call is too long. Fuck it.
It doesn't. Halladay doesn't feel right to me. It feels closer to because the Phils were so loaded in so many ways, and Halladay just made them even better. And Paul George,
by the way, was the best pitcher on the team.
Right, because of the way baseball is set up, obviously, because basketball, Paul George will will fundamentally change the way that the Sixers play and the way that other teams are allowed to guard Embiid and Maxey. And so I would say it's somewhere closer to the Alshon Jeffrey move, where his skill opened up the offense in a real way for the Eagles. That seems maybe closer to it. Was their best receiver?
Yeah.
Open things up.
Now, Alshon was cooked after 1 year.
Sure. Well, Spike.
Oh, no.
Well,
if we win a Super Bowl or win an NBA championship, we'll be fine if Paul George is cooked after 1 year.
That'd be perfectly fine. He's allowed to cook himself right after the Super Bowl. Just parade for too long.
Yep.
That'd be nice.
Maybe that's enough. I think that's enough. We're gonna need all these. There's a lot of offseason left, so we'll keep these. Keep these. Congratulations to Dan Olinger and Ahmed Jama. Welcome to Ahmed onto Team Ricky. There is a new Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. It is called The Draft Council. It is not hosted by me or Mike. It is hosted by Dan and Ahmed, and it is a 52-week-a-year draft pod. It is available now on wherever you get your podcasts, or go to draftcouncil.com. There will be a first full episode coming later this week. Is there anything else? That's it, right?
I have a little bit of Mike playing basketball news that I will announce on the next podcast.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
An intriguing new situation has developed.
Is it ref related?
No. Although in a game that I played last night, a lot of ref bullshit. One ref said to me, I was playing against a guy who was like 6'7", and massive, and like a thick 6'7", not a wiry one. And I was, for some reason, covering him for a large part of the game, just absolutely getting manhandled, placed into the basket. And I'm just hoping he takes bad shots. And he missed like a little hook shot, airballed it short, and then got his own rebound and made it. And I was like, can't do that. Can't do that. Didn't hit rim. Can't catch your own miss if it misses everything. And he's like, no, you can't. I'm like,
well, that's normal fucking
that's
basketball
actually not
stuff.
true. It's actually fundamentally incorrect.
Yeah.
And I'm like arguing with him. I'm just like, I wasn't even mad. I was just like, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. Shouldn't be allowed to do that. Shouldn't be allowed to be a ref. No refs should exist. Call your own fouls, honestly, at this point would be better.
Wow.
Brutal.
That
But yes,
sucks,
a non that announcement with a little more specifics on the next pod. Why not? We're teasing.
Exciting. Very exciting.
Thrilling tease.
Yeah, that is definitely it's definitely the off season.
That's August, babe.
Yeah. All right. We will talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, lick face.